Hello. There were a few songs that stood out to me. I kept hearing the song in my head from Billie Eilish, I think. I had a dream I got everything I wanted. Maybe it was a nightmare, that song. And then I was somewhere and I had just made a decision about something and I was like, did I make the right decision? And then I got to this place and the song, Don't You Worry Child, Heaven's Got a Plan for You came on. Like as I was kind of like asking, like, you know, whatever. I don't know, my eye literally started tearing. Like, now my other eye. First one eye, like literally shed a tear, and then the other one like shed a tear. Yeah, just a few things you may be seeing. Repeating 1s, 3s, the combination, 12, 12s, repeating 7s. Anyway. Yeah, this kind of felt just like a, one of those moments of like pulling back to launch forward. And I know on my list of videos or recordings, I kind of did this collaboration with a friend, and it was, I think we called it like pull back to spring forward or something like that. But it feels like that's kind of what's happening here in this current energy, that my nose just started going like crazy itching. And that's been happening quite a bit lately. I just saw a white orb pop in. I just felt like something getting really heavy on my head. Yeah, so I've been writing a few things down the last few days. So one, collaborations could be significant. Really listening to your body. I was trying to write the word listen and Karen kept coming out. So I don't know, those initials or that name could be like something for someone. Yeah, anyway, I think it was like the last 2 days I was just so tired again, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna respect my body and, you know, take it easy. And then last night I got like such a good sleep, and I woke up today and I had more energy, and I was like, oh, that's nice. So yeah, there's something about that. Will be different for everyone. Perhaps, I shouldn't say different for everyone, but there's like a few different groups. Like some of you are resisting this, and it feels like things are just, yeah, like my head feels like it hurts. It like feels like you're resisting the call to relax a little bit, to rest. And so you may be like making mistakes, or what we call mistakes, or like stubbing your toe or falling, or just like things feel like they're not going well, but it's really just like more, you're just calling in more experiences to help you to slow down. Is kind of what I'm seeing. I don't mean to laugh, because sometimes when you're in the energy, it doesn't feel funny. So I'm laughing more at myself because I know that I've also been in those situations. So I just wanted to explain that. Now for some of you, you got the signal and you were like, okay, I'll rest. That's fine. This is just like a confirmation. It feels like there's a third group. So maybe for the third group, it's like you're kind of in and out of the two. I just got this really strange taste in my mouth. This taste, when I get it, it usually reminds me of medication. This is like extremely specific, but someone's like animal, dog, cat could have gotten a hold of medication. That actually happened the other day. Or maybe someone like just took medication. Someone could be taking medication and you're almost finished, or you just finished, or you're wanting to get off medication. There's something about medication. I'm actually finishing this recording like a day or two after I started it. And I don't usually re-listen to what I record, but I wanted to see where I was, so I did actually re-listened. Re-listened, is that how you say it? And seeing the letter G, I'm looking at the sky, I just saw the letter G, and A. Yeah, so there could be something about, and again, this might be really specific for just a few people, but maybe you are listening to your own voice more often, or seeing yourself on camera, something like this. Like there's something like that maybe you do that you don't usually like to see yourself or view yourself, but you're starting to like become more comfortable with that. Of course, this can go in like many variations, but just like a general thing. Or maybe you're reading your own writings or going back in your journal and like reflecting. Like there's just something about like viewing yourself or listening to yourself, and a reflection period. And I talked about in one of the last recordings that I posted chronologically about, I think I called it like existence review, which was like, I just didn't want to put life review, and I used the thesaurus, actually. I was guided to use the thesaurus, and I just liked existence review. So yeah, there's something about this coming up again. Like nostalgia, Six of Cups in tarot's coming through. Like, I actually just went to meet a new dog or animal client. I'm doing some animal walking, sitting right now, and the woman who I was meeting was actually a court stenographer, which is what I did for like 10 years. So I don't know, it was like crazy for me because that's not like you don't meet a lot of, I don't meet a lot of court reporters. So, I stopped doing that like in 2022, I think. And I'm recording this in the beginning of 2025. Anyway, so for me, it was just like a moment of, like a bit of just like circling back. Like, I just feel like things from my past are coming up in like different ways, and what I'm getting from this, is like, I want to sit with it for a second. It feels like there's, okay, I was with my friend, because I'll be doing one of the days, and she'll be doing, so we both went, to meet the client, and the woman who is a court reporter was like, oh, you don't do it anymore? Like, yeah, well, we still need people, so, if you ever like want to do it again. And like, I am someone in a position where I could totally use money, but I've gotten to this place in my life, and I was saying to my friend, like, I don't know, it's like I closed that door, and like it's funny because I had so many repeating dreams about this. It's like, even if I wanted to try and go back into that, even if it was just part-time or whatever, it was like, I don't know, it's like that part of my life is closed. Like it's hard to explain. So if you're listening to this, there may be something like that for you, like from external situations or from an external perspective. It's like people around you are like, why don't you just go and do this thing that you used to do? Or why don't you go back to this job or go back to this person or whatever? And it's just like, logically it would make sense, but it's just like something in you that's like, I just cannot do that. Like, I'm done with that. And again, it can come through in many different ways. And I wasn't sure if I was going to bring this up, but it's coming through. And I feel like if there's anyone else out there who is needing just to be seen for this, or to be understood, or maybe you like don't quite have words yet to explain how you feel, but it's something that you've been experiencing. I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of people, like, I feel like don't really understand what I'm talking about when I try to explain it, and they're just like, it's just money and a job. And it's like, sure, but like, you know, yeah, if anyone is like going through this and wants more, you know, to like tune in deeper to that energetic imprint, then please feel free to comment and I can like go deeper with that. But that's all I'm getting for now, but just know that there's much more. And my right temple just started to hurt a little bit as I was saying that. Yeah, it's like a gateway, if you will, is like propelling you. I was just talking about like being pulled back to spring forward, and it's like this like blind faith, blind trust type of energy that I feel like if you're drawn to this, you may be experiencing that. Like you don't know how, why, what, when, where, or particular details, but it's like this just inner knowing and feeling. Maybe you've had visions, dreams of like certain clips, or it's like flashes of insight. But like you don't know each step of how you're going to get there, but it's like you just are on this, you know, this like tunnel path of like one foot in front of the other, one step at a time. And again, you have these like flashes of bigger picture moments, but it's like, you know, like what not to do to get there, but you might not know exactly what you're doing as a full plan. But it's like, you just know when that's not it, and you just keep showing up each step of the way. And that's like really what I'm getting right now. So yeah, this certainly may only find like a few people that are in that right now. I'm not sure how many people, I'm not being shown that, but like, yeah, that's just what's coming through. And actually, I just felt something in my left, like maybe, I'm calling it my hip, but it was actually maybe like the hip, and then also, I guess what we would call the groin. I don't know. So I'm getting a couple things. At one point, I had an itch in my inner thigh in like a different reading or transmission. And I looked it up and it said something about incoming abundance. And then when I was like feeling into this energy, it was like I could feel that again. But then there was this like ache in the groin and the hip. So hips, they say, can store emotions connected to guilt and shame. And now I'm getting something on my right palm, underneath the thumb, maybe like an inch underneath the thumb on the right palm, on like the outer edge. I don't know in palmistry what that is, but the other day I've been looking up, I'm just getting a bunch of I need to calm the energy down. My right hand is just like now lighting up at different places. Interesting. I just saw like in like Google Maps, there's like I don't know what you call it. It almost looks like a balloon for like a location. So yeah, it's like, okay, right. It's like this idea of the, I was talking about this recently as well, the untrekked path. Like this energy feels like for like those people who are like path forging, basically like tuning into your own your own codes and navigating internally, sometimes seemingly blind, or again, that blind faith, blind trust is coming through. So yeah, I wasn't expecting this to come through. I was actually going to talk about something else. Let's see where this is kind of navigating through. So yeah, it feels like at this point, releasing any, again, that guilt and shame is coming through. I'm not sure. I'm looking up the metaphysical meaning of the groin. That word just cracks me up. The groin area is associated with the sacral, which is an energy center that governs creativity, sensuality, and sexual pleasure. The pelvis, which contains the sacral, is also linked to spiritual development and primal reactions to fear. Interesting. Okay, so I was sitting with that for a moment to see where this was taking us, and what stood out to me was primal reactions to fear. Yeah, so there have been these patterns, obviously, those of us who feel connected to like the idea of being ancestral lineage resetters is kind of what I'm hearing. These different fear patterns that have been coming up to be faced, recognized, released, transmuted. So if you're finding this, like I was saying, that pullback energy to be propelled into this next phase, yeah, you may be seeing repeating nines. 10-10. It feels like this is the I just heard like welcome to your new reality. So maybe you're practicing quantum leaping, quantum jumping, whether it's your first time or your 100th time. It's like there's been a leap, or you're about to, and this is confirmation of that. So it kind of feels like so I had this dream the other night where I was so for me, the mountaintop or climbing mountain metaphor has been like very significant throughout my last 5 to 7 years. So this could be wrapping up like a 5 to 7 year cycle. And for some of you, like 9 to 10. And for some of you, it's both. It's like these different markers from a 10 year, then like 5 to 7, and then now. So it's like feeling like this is dragonflies can also be significant. Feeling like this is whoa, do you hear how loud that music just got? Yeah, it's like turning up the volume on something, but again, it's like this pullback period. I know I've said that like 5 times, so I don't know why it's coming through so much. But so in this dream, I was on a mountaintop, and I was actually with someone from my past who I haven't seen in a long time. And we were together. It was an ex-boyfriend for like almost 7 years. So that's 7 years seems to be significant. Anyway, and in the dream, he was with me on this mountaintop, and there were other people around, and it was like so peaceful. And it was just like this like relaxing energy of like, you know, after you just trekked up a mountain and then you get to the top with the views, and it's like we had the things we needed, like we had like nice things with us, but it was still like very nature oriented, you know. And everyone around me, including him, the person that I used to be with, was like so unhappy, like this is terrible, and they were like all upset with me because I was excited. There's a dragonfly. I just said a dragonfly, and one just flew by the window, and I'm on the 28th floor, so that's kind of cool. I like saw a dragonfly in the clouds, and now one just flew by. So yeah. I was seeing letter N and M. Okay, I feel like this message is like, I feel like it's like taking me a while to get it out, so thank you for your patience. So I'm on this mountaintop, and yeah, everyone around me is like, basically like, there's a rom-com with, oh my god, what's her name? Mila Kunis, which is so funny because the person who I'm talking about that was in my dream used to like, that was like his one celebrity crush he really like talked about. Like ever, not all the time, but like he liked her, and I would always look, why are you dating me? I'm like, nothing like her, but that's fine. That was like the old me. But anyway, so it's just so funny because there's a movie with her and Justin Timberlake. Oh, Friends with Benefits, maybe? Something like that. And she lives in New York City, if you're not familiar, and she has this like really tall building that she sneaks into, and she calls it like her New York mountaintop. And at one point, Justin Timberlake comes up there because she doesn't get a signal and she wouldn't answer his calls. And she was up there, and then they got into a fight, and she was like, thanks for ruining my mountaintop. And like, that's exactly what this dream was like. It was like, I was like enjoying my mountaintop. I had finally gotten here after all this time, and everyone around me was like trying to ruin it. So they were all like, didn't want to stay there. They're like, we need to go down to like the next plateau or whatever you call that on a mountain. And so like I had to go with them in the dream. So I like went down, and everyone was still like not happy, and I was but that's the thing, in the dream, like I still held my like, I was still like, okay, this place is nice too, like we can rest here, and everyone else is like, oh no, this isn't good enough. Anyway, so it feels like collectively speaking, that has been this inner cultivation of like being, and I talk about this a lot, this comes through a lot, being the calm in the storm, cultivating inner peace, learning to trust yourself. And yeah, like 7th house in astrology, like maybe you've had a lot of interpersonal relationships that were what we call karmic in nature or challenging, all to really like get you to come back to your inner nature. And they say, abundance is our birthright, like, of course, how we define abundance can be different for each person, but abundance mindset, energetic, reconnecting to your own self-illuminating, generative, is that a word? Light source, things like this. And then this was like a few nights ago that I had this dream, and then last night I had a dream with myself and actually someone who I've had a few sessions with a few years ago, and she does amazing work. And her and I were getting our photo taken. I don't know why. And there were a bunch of people around. She was in the front and I was in the back. And in the photo, everyone looked, like themselves, human. And her and I, like, were in our, like, in the photo, we came out and, like, I'm going to call it our plasma body. It was like plasma light. And the color was like sort of diamond, like a diamond. You know how diamonds have that like reflective, it felt like the diamond DNA. And okay, so I just looked for on the Ascension Glossary like a visual of what came through in the dream, the best thing I could find. And in the Ascension Glossary, it's labeled crystal tones, crystal with a K, and it's under, I can link this below, Kavrayasata'ala, Crystalla. And this is the closest like visual that I can find that's sort of what was represented in the dream. And so I did release a plasma activation within the last few weeks. So the fact that this came through the dream, it was so clear too, because I remember it so clearly. And excuse me, so those of us who are drawn to this, it's 3:07 on my time right now, which always links me to Metatron. Yeah, so there's been like this pulling, I'm hearing pulling from some of these more inorganic frequency codes that have been really being re-encoded. So when I was talking in the beginning about like trusting that internal compass, it's almost like there's been this re-downloading or upgrade of this internal map. And it's like there's been interference in frequency nets that they call it, but if you're finding this, it's like there's been a successful re-download, and it's following that internal navigation is guiding you to this next, not even two, this next phase is here. It's like, and yeah, if you're like, oh my God, no, it's not, then like, know that like this is one of those, like I talked about, like having one of those big picture moments to help propel you forward or keep going. Yeah. So I'm going to read a little bit about, oh my God, this is so wild. So I met someone in Mexico a few weeks ago, and he was talking about an herb that not an herb, a supplement, a mineral that he found, but he told me in Spanish, and I was like, okay, I don't know Spanish, but it feels like like it reminded me of silica. So we were talking, and I looked it up, and it was silica. So, a few years back, silica, and of course, please always like trust yourself, do your own research, but you could have already been taking silica or silicate. If not, this might be something that can help you. And again, please do your own due diligence. So it's interesting that I was led here because that was just coming through, and I haven't taken it in a few years, but okay, so I'm going to read from the Ascension Glossary, and I will link this below. And in the overflow on Patreon, I saved a few different links that I will read from, and there's also a connection from, I've been talking about Maya Nartumid and reading some of her writings as well, so I may read from hers, some of her writings about whatever comes through. Okay, so again, this is from the Ascension Glossary. There's a frequency, tone, and geometry recorded in the silicate matrix of the DNA signal that is being imprinted in new ways with the crystal tones. This is in January 2013, by the way. So, of course, whenever I read from anything or cite something, etc., like I try my best to see if anything that's updated in the current energy that comes and weaves in, I will like say if I'm getting something like that. Because we're having so many shifts and changes, like, sometimes things that may have applied in the energy 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there may be, like, the foundation still may be there, but there's, these new codes are being hatched all the time, so. Okay. This is a large Aurora project that has to do with re-encryption of the flesh and therefore reconfiguring the DNA elements of the human body to be resonant with the frequencies of the diamond sun body. And that's what in this dream, what was coming through, I'm hearing planetary plasma luminary, like, and everyone was like, whoa, like they couldn't understand when they looked at this picture, in the dream. And it's funny because I was in the back, like I said, and I was a little bit higher up, and mine was like, the other person that had this was in the front. And it's funny because she's like very seen right now. Like she has like a following on Clubhouse, and she speaks at different conferences and stuff, and I'm still not. So it's interesting to see that. But yeah, mine was like almost like still more etheric or something, but it was like in the physical body, but yeah, just like in the back and like higher up, and hers is in the front row. I don't know why that feels significant. So for someone, it feels like maybe you are starting to come forward, like starting to be in the front row of something. It could be literal. Maybe someone here just got like front row tickets to a concert or something. I don't know. That's like very specific, but yeah, or yeah, being seen, being heard, etc. Spotlight type of thing. And for the higher ascension mechanics perspective, this diamond sun body, for some of you, the double diamond sun body, the silicate matrix of the DNA being realized. And I did do a recording called like the Aurora re-encryption, so there could be some messages in there for you if you feel so called. So these 7 tones of original creation are broken down into ka, ra, ya, sa, ta, a, la. That's according to this. I have not fact-checked that. And then in parenthesis, crystal, all in caps, because if you take the first letter of each of those sounds, it spells crystal with a K. When we tone these individually, they hold a piece of a larger schematic that fits into the crystal GSF body, the Diamond Sun Christos blueprint. These tones are not to be confused with ka, ra, ya, sa, ta, ha, la, emphasis on the H sound. Then it goes on, to talk about the crystal tones, and it says when the tones of the ka, ra, ya, sa, ta, a, la, parenthesis, crystal, all in caps, are woven into a complete pattern, they're an actual Merkaba, or spirit body. The spirit body of crystal star consciousness is phonetically, which sounds like, spelled something like Crystalla or Crystalla. One is with a C, and the second one was with a K. And then in parenthesis, Kara Yasata Hala, which also describes and explains or means the male and female merged, risen Christos body. So I've been talking about this for a long time before I even stumbled onto this work, about the integration of the masculine and feminine and like the birthing of this next consciousness. So yeah. And it talks about how like breath work and different sounds can be helpful. Light language, if that's something you feel connected to. Prayer, music, breath work, refocusing the mind, breaking control patterns, which is what we were kind of talking about. Integrate the crystal aegis diamond breastplate to support soul and oversoul integration between the bodies. Yeah, so oversoul integration. That is absolutely... I just felt something in the right collarbone. So specifically, father lineage stuff can be coming up, or something that you just cleared through. Okay, and I was walking a few weeks ago at nighttime, and this happens sometimes, but this was one of like the strongest that's happened in a while. And I can't remember if I have already spoken about this in a different transmission, but it's coming through, where the lights around, what are they called? Like the headlights and street lights. I don't know if it felt like a second, but it could have been longer. There were just all the light coming from the headlights and the street lights, like started to turn into ripples of light. And like each ripple had like, I call them the Kelon codes crystalline Kelons from some of like Ashana Dean's work in Kelantic science. Like that's the way they come through for me anyway. And I could see them like moving through these ripples of light. And everything around was just like, it's hard to explain, but it was like I entered into these ripples for like a few seconds, and then all of a sudden they were just, it was just back to the regular surroundings I was in. And aura migraines could be significant for someone. This happened actually when I was a teenager, and I have talked about this before, and I found out way later that it was called an aura migraine. But I didn't have a migraine this time. Now it just happens, it happens like quite often, but this one was like it's not always that intense. So that could be happening for someone, or, maybe like it happens in a different way for you, so feel free to share. But being connected to these like really just light activations that can show in different ways or manifest in different ways. There was also a significance around so I'm just going to say this phrase, the Brennau Rishi and the Kundera currents. Eyesight prism, rainbow prism patterns. I will go deeper into this in the overflow, but I'm just sort of laying that foundation. And the connection to Maya Nartumid was speaking on. I was guided to this video one day. And for a while, I talked about this a few times, when I would tune into a council, if you will, that was coming through my channel within the last few years. They would call themselves the Golden Council Triangle of Light. And it's taken on different meanings and different layers over time. And recently, when I was watching one of Maya's transmissions, she talks about Thoth quoting the golden triangle, and the meaning being merging geometry and physics. Excuse me, which, I don't know, just my whole body was like, what? So I do plan on going deeper with that, but I just sort of wanted to introduce that. And perhaps if some of you are already into this, like, feel free to comment, because there's I think understanding the different layers of physics and how quantum physics is really like lending itself in a lot of the more new age talks and things like this, or occult teachings, and then now the branching with geometry and physics coming together. It's just something I wanted to sort of continue to mention and let it weave through naturally without trying to force it, because that's just what I feel called to do. Which leads me into a friend of mine dropped me off the other day, and like right after she dropped me off, she saw like a herd of peacocks. She didn't see. I meant to say she saw. Did I say herd? I don't know what I said. She saw a herd. Is that how you call it? A herd of peacocks? I don't know. Just like a bunch of peacocks crossing the road. And so she stopped, and she couldn't drive, obviously. And so she took a little video, and one of them was completely white. So, peacocks can stand for beauty, being seen, showing off. And that dream I was talking about the illumination and the silicate DNA matrix and the plasma body, and I was talking about like maybe coming to the front row, literally, metaphorically, both, and being seen. So it's funny that I wrote down the peacocks. I actually forgot about that before I even had that dream. So and then I looked up the white peacock. My friend said something about like the shedding of feathers and almost like a phoenix rising from the ashes. It was like a similar thing. I didn't find that, but what I did find is that white peacocks are extremely rare, and it's a genetic mutation of the Indian blue peafowl. And as soon as I read that, the first thing that popped in my mind was butterfly pea flower. So someone here could be working with that in some way, or you like that, or maybe you're drawn to it. I actually made a tincture. I think I still have plenty of them, actually, with changa and butterfly pea. And it's really funny that this is coming up so much this week, because I made it 2 years ago. They last 10 years usually. And they're being stored at my mom's house. And I accidentally sent that label to someone who bought a different tincture off of me. And she was like, oh my God, what is that? I'm so curious. So changa has been coming up a lot lately. Butterfly pea. So any of this can be relevant. But so back to the white peacock. So a rare genetic mutation from the Indian blue peafowl. They're born yellow and they turn white. So of course, when we get into chelantic science and some of the genetic lineages, mutations, hybridizations, all of that comes up. So you could be someone who's like getting into this. Maybe you've been into this for a while, but this is like coming through very strongly. And trying to understand like human origins and lineages, things like this. Oh, white peacocks are often kept in captivity and are specially bred for their unique coloration. That makes me kind of, I don't want to say anything about that, but yeah, maybe you feel connected to things like this. So a few other, like, I'll say spiritual meanings that I found from the white peacock. And you may like feel connected to some of this. Connecting with it energetically, etc. I'm just getting the link back. A white peacock spiritually symbolizes purity, spiritual awakening, rebirth, and the divine self. I love that connection because of the dream that I had, and often representing a state of enlightenment or a connection to higher consciousness due to its pristine white plumage and association with the concept of renewal through its annual feather shedding cycle. Oh yeah, okay, there we go. In some cultures, it can also represent Jesus or a divine being with a pure and radiant nature. So beautiful. Key points about the white peacock's spiritual meaning: purity and cleanliness, rebirth and transformation, divine connection, and inner beauty. The dazzling feathers of a peacock represent the potential for inner beauty and radiance to shine through. Yeah, and that's like exactly what my dream, it was like in, we're in human form, and then the two of us in the photo, it was like the silicate DNA matrix in the plasma body that showed up. So, of course, the symbolic mirroring here with the peacock and the dream. And then, of course, back to that mountaintop dream of like this period of like, even though it's like pulling back to propel forward, it's like I'm hearing like you've reached your mountaintop. And it's up to you, like how you want to enjoy it. Like the people in the dream with me were on the mountaintop and they were miserable. So it's like, that's okay if that's how you want to experience it. So it might feel like, I don't know, maybe you're thinking like something isn't going to work out, or maybe you're having a lot of redirection, like things are canceling, things are moving around, like nothing's happening like you expect. So this is just like an invitation or an opportunity if you haven't already. For some of you it's confirmation, for some of you it's more of an invitation, for some of you it's to go deeper, to just breathe into it and trust and flow kind of thing. Okay. I wanted to touch on, one second, please. Here it is. Maya Nartumit's the 13th Living Crystal Skull. And for me, whenever I tune into the crystal skull consciousness, I always tune back into like the sun god Apollo and the island or the Isle of Crete in Greece, which I did actually go to Crete, I think in 2019. So I haven't done like external research, and I know there's like different points, but for some reason, like I always feel connected to that. Like water priestess and priest temples can be significant, things like this. So this is like a transcription. I can also add this in the link below or in the description box if you want to read for yourself if you haven't already. And I will probably go deeper into this in Patreon, but I just wanted to read a little bit here. So this transcription style is like Maya, the person who brought through this information, and then the consciousness she connects to, Thoth, which she calls Thoth Hora. So it's like Maya, Thoth Hora, back and forth. So the part I'm reading right now is Maya. If you're not familiar with the info I have originally transcribed on the 12 Dweller crystal skulls, she first has a link to go there about the 12th crystal skull. I'm not going there right now. I don't feel guided to. I'm just going to read a little bit about this. So Thoth Hora says, I reveal the symbolic and sacred name of In La Kek, same as the future temple to be built on Nesai, for the living 13th bearer of the crystal skull. And I often talk about like the 13th Stargate and the number 13 and the significance of that. So I was really excited when I stumbled onto this. In this instance, we can see the crystal skull as a grail cup filled with the nectar of holy compassion and transfiguration. The living bearer will be female. Okay, so then it goes on to talk about like a more personified aspect of this, although it kind of like goes back and forth about the personification and really just like the symbolism. So, but it talks about the DNA from all the Grail tribes, and star tribes talk about like hybridization, at least the way we perceive it at this point, which that's a whole other conversation. But really the idea of this 13th living skull is to unite the Grail and star tribes, who all carry factions of those tribes in their genetic code. And this to me feels connected to this dream that I had, and those of us who feel connected to this. So yeah, I'm actually going, oh my God. And I was about to say, I'm going to wrap it up here, and it's 3:33 on my time right now. So beautiful timing. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much. If you feel called to go deeper, I will be doing an overflow on Patreon. Yeah. Thank you.